Okay, I kind of want to make a video to help you guys out. Some of you guys might be beginning at drag racing or just started. On some of the tips that can help you do better and progress faster and enjoy it a little more. So one of the first things I found out that you need to do, make sure you go through your suspension, that you got good shocks, good bushings, good alignment, that everything is, not whooped. And one of the big things also is the rear control arm bushing. If it hasn't been changed, it's definitely probably bad unless a previous owner changed it. There's a couple ways you can go about that. You can get a Moog all rubber, one from the auto parts store for like 15 bucks a piece. And that's, if you're on a budget, that's perfectly fine way to go. I had those for a couple of years. Then after that, I went to OTTP spherical bushings, and awesome product. If you can afford it, they are a good way to go. I actually ended up going with the leading bushing also. So it's, the more solid everything is, the better, but that rear bushing's a must. So when I started out, I noticed a lot of wheel hop, horrible 60 foot, just bad time. And you don't want that wheel hop because that's transmission killer. I got fortunate, I didn't quite know it at the time, how catastrophic it could be. So the next things you can do, or you need to do, is the engine and transmission mounts, if you really want to eliminate this hop. So front and rear transmission mount for sure. I'm a big fan of the upper transmission mount. I think it does big things. And then those three together got rid of most of my wheel hop. But I went with the engine mount also because I want the best I can get, and I noticed a difference. I think either if you do the third transmission or the engine makes a huge difference because you're locking everything in. But you'll notice a lot of vibration with the engine. It will get better. So don't get discouraged right off the bat. Run it for a few hundred miles or a few months. So once I got all the mounts done, man, it was a whole new car. I could launch it. I mean, I was getting tire spin, but it wasn't banging off the track. So my times got better. Things got a little more enjoyable. But I noticed, still bad 60 foot. Street tires don't cut it. Definitely no all seasons. I had Nitto NT05s, which for the horsepower I was at was a good tire. So I was like, okay, what's the next step? And my buddy, actually, John Walters, told me, he goes, if you're serious about it, get slicks. He goes, there's no other way to go about it. Best thing you can do. So I'm like, a lot of money, and I'm tossing it around. Well, I ended up finding a used set online. I could tell they were probably 5 years old or more. But I'm like, hey, you know what? Give me a feel for it. So I bought them, and just night and day difference. It's, if you're really wanting to, go to the track a couple times a month, or you want to go and try to set some new personal bests or some new bests in general, you're going to need slicks. And actually, slicks are a lot better on your powertrain. A lot of people are surprised when you say that, but they absorb a lot of the shock, kind of like a rubber band effect or a clutch. It engages, turns into the tire, and it just takes the shock load off your axles and your transmission. And so when I started, and I actually started trying to cut my times down, I did some research, and I see, well, on an M62, 12s are a really good time, means you're doing well. So I set my goal on 12s. I got my slicks, I got all my mounts, and with a 1.8 60 foot, I got 12.98, and super happy. That was one of my big goals. It shows that I'm doing my job well. It shows I got the car set up pretty well. And you don't need to go crazy. I didn't have LSD. I didn't have drag bags. It was just a really simple setup. I was 285 wheel horse, and seat time. I mean, that's a big part of it. You got to learn your car, learn how to launch it, and stuff like that. So, and then after that, and then this is for your big horsepower guys, that 4 or 5, 100 horse turbo setup, that kind of power starting out, it probably hurts you more than help. So if I had to suggest anything, turn your boost down a little bit, and even if you're low 4s or high 3s, that's a good place to start to learn your car, and not be so hard on your car while you're learning. Be hard on your car when you know what you're doing and you're actually laying down some good times. I think that's one of the things that helped me is I was 260, 270, 280 when I started. And it was enough power. I didn't break my car, and I didn't hurt anything. And I got a chance to learn, and it took me a while to learn. So that's just one of my suggestions. I haven't, raced a big turbo one yet, but I know that power is hard to control when you ain't used to how to launch the car. So, and then once it becomes fun, you start setting your eyes down on better and better and better times, So I ran a 12.98, and I'm like, awesome, I'm in the 12s, not all that many cars are. So what can I do? What's the next challenge? And I seen there was a guy in the 12.7s, and ZZP was in the 12.2s, and I didn't really think that was really obtainable at the time. So I was like, let's try to run a 12.7 or better. And I'm like, well, I know it ain't helping. So I picked up a LSD transmission off of Josh Bilheimer at Category V Portworks. And actually I got a sweatshirt on now. And we put that in the car. I put a watt box in the car. It took me a while to learn to use the watt box. And more power in the car, because I felt at the time I was ready. So I put a head on it from Category V Portworks, or Josh put the head on for me. I put ZZP Stage 3 cams. I had a 3.5-inch intake, really kind of dialed the car in, 80-pound injectors, E85. So I went to ZZP. I'm like, man, this car feels strong. So we went dyno tune, 349 horse. So I know that's a lot out of an M62, but it's what I was using when I ran my best time. So went back to the track. I seen 12.7, 12.5, 12.3. It was progressing pretty fast, pretty well. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually getting down to some of the fastest M62 times. So, and then at the end of the season, I ended up running a 12.09, and just super happy and stoked that I can do something new with, with an old platform. And so some of you guys out there trying to do the same thing might be trying to beat me, and I hope so. I love competition, so don't even think for a second I won't throw that M62 back on if somebody beats me. So, yeah, and so now I'm on a TVS and pushing it hard, hopefully here soon. It's on a mild tune right now. And first pass, I ran 11.84, so super happy. My next goal is an 11.5. So, that's the fun part about it. So what's some of the tricks you can do? So we went over getting rid of the wheel hop. So next thing is burnout. Let's say you have slicks, you're ready. Second gear burnout. Don't mess around with first gear. So I 3, 4, 5 grand, get it up there, dump the clutch, get the tires spinning fast. And once they're spinning, I keep between 6 and 7 grand. The faster you spin them, the faster they're going to warm up, and the harder it's going to be for them to start hooking up to stop your burnout. So once I feel the car start hooking up to the point where I can't hold it, I'll drop the e-brake, do a rolling burnout out of the box, and then you can tell it's just about hooked up. I'll push in the clutch and I'm done. You don't want it to fully hook up. It's hard on your car, hard on everything. So, and you might stall and whatever. So if you watch some of my videos, you could probably get a gist of my burnout and when I let out, and that's how I do it. So get a good burnout, nice and hot, and you don't have to do this starting off, so you can always come back to this because it might be too much to take in. It was for me because I tried it at first, is preloading. So you get up to the light, you stage, and the next guy staged, and I'll pull up on my e-brake. So everybody's staged, and I'll start letting out on the clutch. You can feel the car trying to pull forward, but it's not moving. And I'll give it a little bit of load on it, and then as the tree's dropping and I go to launch, I up on the clutch and down on the e-brake kind of simultaneously, and it gives a little, like slingshot effect. Everything's loaded. It's not a sudden shock. It's kind of good on the drivetrain actually. But, when you're concentrating on everything at first, it might be too much to do that. And the biggest thing is get out there and practice that stuff and practice launching. Don't worry about cutting a good RT, reaction time. It doesn't hurt your time. You don't need to. Learn how to launch your car. Take your time a little bit. I know you get those butterflies when you start racing and stuff, so just kind of go at your own pace. Don't wait 10 seconds to launch your car, but don't worry about cutting a perfect light either. So yeah, it's not as bad as everybody thinks, but you can't just go out there unprepared and with needing parts on your car and stuff and blame it on the car. It's just practice and maintenance and having a few little extra goodies, as you get better. So I hope to see more of you guys out there trying and, progressing the platform and yourself and actually having some fun with it and try not to break your car, Axles, I carry one with me and I carry the tools I need to change it. I've never had to, but I know it's a possibility, so that's not a bad idea to grab yourself a spare axle. And yeah, I drive to the track. I'm fortunate I live close to one. So for you guys doing that, definitely, wouldn't hurt to carry an axle and make sure you have your helmet and stuff. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. If I can make any more videos to help out, I definitely will do. So if you have any ideas, let me know.